And I can't remember standing by the wall.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to our Justice League review. I'm joined here by my friend
Ram.
Today we want to talk about the controversial Justice League movie. The first half of the video will be non-spoilers, and the second half will be spoilers. And don't worry, I'll give you the heads up when we're going to get into our spoiler review. But let's get started. So we finally got to see Justice League.
We did.
On the big screen, we get to see all the characters live.
Yep.
And, you know, the one thing that I really enjoyed about this movie was the team chemistry with all the characters. First off, I'll just say I actually really enjoyed this film. There are some issues that I had with it. Just having those characters on the screen for the first time, you know, that's something that was a big deal to me. The main thing that I really liked about this movie was the characters and the character development between them. Of course, there was some stuff that was missing between each character. That was the big thing that for the Justice League. I thought that even the chemistry between the Flash and Aquaman and Wonder Woman, especially between Wonder Woman and Batman, I thought they had really good chemistry there. I thought the story was kind of rushed. I thought that for the most part, I mean, in this movie they wanted to get the Justice League together as fast as they could and sort of just throw them all together, throw in the big bad guy, and then just have them fight him. And that was, you know, basically it.
Warner Brothers, I think, just wanted to, you know, get the Justice League out there.
Yeah.
Especially when Avengers had come through. They wanted to get it started with the Justice League, and they did that with this film. And there's been some editing in the film, which we all know going forward, which kind of, for me, kind of took a little bit away. And then when I went to see it a second time, I did enjoy it that much more. As I said, there's little spots in the film I just felt like it could have been, there were some gaps, and I just felt like it could have been filled in with some more development, especially with the characters.
Yeah. But what did you think overall? Like, when you came out of that movie, what did you think when you first saw it?
Well, I think I had high expectations for this film, so
yeah.
When I came walking out, I felt a little singed. I felt like there should have been a little bit more that could have went into it. A little bit more talking about, you know, in this film we all have to have a bad guy, so Steppenwolf was a good choice.
Yeah. But
at the same time, he seemed kind of like not a strong villain.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, Steppenwolf was pretty weak. We didn't know much about him. I think that a lot of his background got cut out of the movie. Yep. We did see that flashback scene where he was taking over some other planets. I'm not really sure what they were. I know that the Atlanteans, the Amazons were fighting him.
Yeah, and Man. So it was Man, the Amazons.
Yeah.
And the Atlanteans all coming together, and then there's 3 boxes, and it was kind of like, I'm thinking for some reason that these are boxes that are powerful and they can create worlds. I'm thinking, is this something taken from Transformers? I mean,
yeah,
because we have the Optimus Prime, the Cube.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're here we are, which I felt like was a good setup. Here's 3 boxes. This is what we were looking at. There's these aliens coming into the planet that Batman's investigating. A little disappointed.
Yes.
But I do hope they make a release of an extra version or a Director's Cut edition. Will have extra scenes added, mm-hmm. and maybe find out what those scenes were.
Yeah, I hope so too. Like, I know there's a petition online to get Zack Snyder to do a Director's Cut of the film. To me, it just looked like there was a lot of stuff missing. And that was one of my gripes of the film, is that it seems rushed to me, and there was a lot of stuff missing, and I won't go too much right now, but like, there's a few scenes, especially with Steppenwolf, where we're setting up his character, where it's sort of like jumping from one thing to another,
yeah.
And like, to me, although the scene made sense, it felt like there was more there. But what did you think about like the team chemistry, like the characters as a whole, like seeing the first time ever seeing Flash on the big screen? Like, what did you think of his character? What did you think of Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and all the characters together?
Well, I felt it was great seeing the Flash. It was great seeing Aquaman and Wonder Woman, especially. We all know she's doing really well in the DC world, and it was good to see her on screen with the chemistry she's building with Batman, Bruce Wayne, and as well with Flash. I just felt like there could have been more told with Flash. Like if we have Batman who goes and visits Flash, and we find out a little bit more about what he's about, but I just felt like there could be more than just okay, so you're fast. As a team, I felt like they kind of brought in a good dynamic of bringing these characters together. I would like to have seen more cohesion time together, really, building this team, especially with Superman.
Yeah. Individually, like, what did you think of the Flash? Did you like how Flash was in the movie?
Yeah, I liked how the Flash was. Again, the actor, the character itself in the movie was good. I felt like at one point, even with his running, I felt like he was like dancing at one point when he was running past.
Well, it almost looked like he was skating.
Skating, yeah. It was something. It was like a dance, skating. It was a bit of a mix. I wasn't sure what was going on there. Maybe he was just having fun with it. It felt like it was a bit of a moment in the film where it shows that he can have a bit of a development, being part of the team. One character that we don't explore a lot on was Cyborg. I felt like, to me, I always found him a little interesting in the movie, and I would have liked to have seen more.
Yeah, I actually thought that Cyborg was an interesting character in the movie, because he's sort of like DC's Iron Man. I felt that way for all the characters, other than Wonder Woman, who already had a solo film. So we got to see a lot of the setup for her, and the same with Batman. I think that they could have spent a little more time building up the other characters since they had that free time, because we already had the build up for those two other characters. Like you're saying, there wasn't enough screen time for those characters. I think that they all pretty well equally got gypped. I think Aquaman, the Flash, and Cyborg got very brief scenes to set them up. And I think that they wanted to jump right into the battle with Steppenwolf. For me, I thought that the characters, for what we got, like for just seeing the characters in your face and in real time doing whatever, I thought they were all really good. I would have loved to see the setup for them, but that's not what we got. How did you feel about the look of the film? Like, I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of Snyder's films, of the way he's very visually stunning films. Like, I thought Batman v Superman looked amazing. The way some of the sunsets, some of the vistas that he films and that sort of. Did you see some of that in this film?
A little bit, especially when I know in his work that Snyder's done when it comes to was it Sucker Punch and The Watchmen.
Yeah.
And I think there was The Watchmen that kind of I think that was a movie that kind of okay, well, hey, let's bring this guy aboard for Man of Steel. Right?
Yeah.
And because just his concepts with how he does his action style fighting scenes, how he slows down the camera, and when the bullets are dropping, it's just like they have that little slow motion, like falling, bouncing up. And yeah, so there's that style that I do enjoy, when it's almost like it's a fast, slow, fast visual that you get. And one thing I can say is that, I did enjoy Batman vs. Superman as well. There were scenes in the film that I felt were a little cartoony.
Mm-hmm. In Justice League?
In both.
In both, okay.
Batman vs. Superman, especially with having Doomsday arrive. It just felt like there was a few scenes that kind of...
Spoilers.
Yeah.
But you've probably already seen that by now, hopefully.
So for that itself, that was kind of cartoony, but I felt like there were scenes in the Justice League that, again, resonated with that, where it was very cartoon-ish.
Yeah.
Maybe some scenes from throughout the movie that I could pinpoint.
For me, personally, I thought that there was some stuff from Snyder that I could recognize in maybe like the beginning of the film. Like, overall, through the film, I didn't see a lot. Like maybe some scenes here and there, but I felt like it was more of a Joss Whedon movie rather than a Snyder movie. That's just my perspective. Like we don't know entirely of how much of Snyder's stuff got cut. I know for a fact that that Joss Whedon had reshot at least 20% of the movie, but we don't know what that looks like, you know. So the cinematography for me looked all right. Like to me, when I watched the movie, it was almost like watching one of the DC animated movies. Like it was like watching a cartoon show. Like that's almost what it was to me when I was seeing it. Like completely different from Batman v Superman. Like Batman v Superman was a very serious movie, you know, and this one visually to me was very different. Like Batman v Superman had a lot of stunning visuals, and this one I thought was all right. I thought there was a lot of CGI stuff in it that to me didn't look the best.
I think it went as far as to say that this was obviously a better film, at least how I see it, versus some past films that I've seen in the DC universe. Such as, like, I felt like this film, The Justice League, was a lot better than Suicide Squad. And because in itself, when it came to Suicide Squad, I felt like that movie, because with what we had with the Joker and what we had with other characters in the film, it almost felt like it was a film that was two movies kind of like put together.
Yeah.
When it comes to in terms of the Justice League, I felt like they did a good job with this, but again, because it was scenes were redone and things may have been added in and things we don't know about where those may lie. There might be a few spots I could probably pinpoint that are more a Joss Whedon style, and of course there's another Zack Snyder style on how he does his visuals in the film. And there are scenes in the film I can actually probably pinpoint, okay, that I know who did that or who did that. But again, I feel like maybe this was a film. I understand that Snyder had a loss. He had a family.
Unfortunately, yeah, his daughter actually committed suicide, and he had to step away.
Yeah, so that's tragic. I mean, me as a parent, I mean, I can only, you know, I can't even fathom the fact. Warner Brothers should have at least allowed for this film to move forward the way that Snyder had his vision. You know, because he's got such a, you know, from what I understand, a love for these characters, a love for superheroes, and for what he's trying to do and what he's trying to bring forward. I mean, if you at least allow him this one chance to put what he put together, have that deciding factor after the film's released, and if this is a way that Warner Brothers wants to move forward with, great. If they want to go a different direction, then maybe look at, okay, you know what, we're going to bring in another director, another writer, and we're going to go a different route with Justice League and do Super Friends with this other director. So, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, no doubt that Warner Brothers was reacting to Batman v Superman, like the audience or the critics didn't like it, and they wanted to make some hard changes to Justice League, and essentially taking a lot of stuff out that Snyder did. Overall, after seeing the film, and with the story, with the characters, with the look of the film, the pacing of the film, what score would you give it?
Okay, I'd give it 8. I mean, there's definitely things I enjoyed about this film. And I mean, there's even like certain scenes in the film. I'll go back and just watch that particular scene. As a whole, I mean, I felt like there could have been more, but you know, if anything, I do hope when there comes a release to a Blu-ray copy that there will be more that we'll be able to view or see, or maybe there will be 2 different versions. Maybe we'll have
I hope so.
The one version and the other version. You decide.
Some of the stuff that I've been reading, some of the deleted scenes, like there's some really awesome stuff that got cut out of this movie, and it's a real shame because I think it would have added so much more to Justice League. So for me, overall, I really enjoyed this film. There are some things that I didn't like about it. We talked about those pretty much already, and we'll get into some more stuff in detail in the spoiler review. But I'm actually gave it the same score.
8.
So
Nice.
you didn't like it as much as I did, but we both have the same score.
Yeah.
So I also giving it 8 out of 10. I actually debated about it, and I was going to give it lower. I was actually thinking maybe like 7.5, and I was really thinking hard about it, and I just decided to give it an 8 out of 10. Stay tuned. We're going to jump into our spoiler review, so you've been warned.
10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Superman pose.
Superman pose.
No, you're not seeing things. There are 2 Supermen standing here.
2.
Alright, so let's get into spoilers. Let's talk about Superman. Because Superman, for me anyway, I didn't like it that he died in Batman v Superman. Although I understand what Snyder was doing in that movie, that Superman was making a sacrifice. And, but for me, it was too soon. For me, he didn't earn it, and I appreciate the character development that he had in Batman v Superman. He's trying to find himself, but I just thought that it's sort of too early for him to kill himself. It's done now, obviously. I think that they should have saved that for a future Superman movie. But anyway, with that being said, Superman is back, and
He's back.
how did you feel about the way they brought him back? And him, Superman as a character in the film.
Well, I may have mentioned this before, but with those boxes, those power boxes they had in the film, I just felt like that was the way they're going to resurrect Superman with the Justice League coming together and going onto the Krypton crashed ship to help get this whole thing in motion, get the beacon to the world to come back. Now, of course, as we saw at the end of the film Batman vs. Superman, there was a sequence in the film where Lois Lane grabs a bit of dirt and throws it on his wood box. So, of course, we see at the end right before the credits jumped right at you, it was basically the dirt just kind of it looked like it was starting to rise.
Yeah, it floated up.
Again,
what happened
in this film? That's completely not the case, right? So Superman is dead, and again, we learn a lot in this film that he's just not with us anymore until the Justice League is able to get a hold of these 3 boxes and leave it to Bruce Wayne to persuade everybody to get a hold of Superman and bring him back.
Did you like the way they did it with the mother box? And because in the end of Batman v Superman, the dirt rises up, meaning that he's maybe regenerating, but they completely threw that out the window.
They did.
And now they threw a whole different scenario at us. Did you like the way they did that?
Not so much. I think that's probably why my disappointment leaving the film wasn't why I didn't feel so great after seeing the film. Again, I saw it a second time. I enjoyed it a lot more. Again, I was looking for more, and I was quite happy with the end result. And again, with going back to Superman, I just feel like we saw certain scenes in the film that he was included in, but then I always felt like there was also some cuts in certain scenes that he was in.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Well, for me, I found that. I didn't like it actually. I didn't like the way he came back. I think that they did their best to come up with a new story and throw that all together. And okay, he's back, but I can't remember when it was. But Henry Cavill teased the black suit on I think it was Twitter, or Instagram. And I was really looking forward to the black suit because, that is one thing that in the comics when he comes back and he has different versions. He has a beard, He has the long hair. There was also a scene cut out from the trailers where Alfred's like, "Oh, you're here. You know, thank God you're here. You know, hopefully you can make it in time, right?" And
Shouldn't that be where Superman got his suit back? You know,
right. And well, according to the deleted scenes that I had read, is that was Superman, and that I don't know what he was doing at Alfred's to get a suit, but apparently he was going to get a suit from Alfred. So yeah, I don't know. But at that point, he already had a suit on, his black suit.
Also, I also heard that it could have been the Green Lantern too. Like, because
Yeah.
you look in his eye, you see a little bit of green bouncing back from his glasses, right?
Yeah,
So.
I mean, there was a lot of speculation about that, and we actually did see a Green Lantern earlier on in the film, but I wanted to see the black suit Superman. I thought he would have looked so cool in the black suit, and from a lot of the deleted scenes that I read, there was a lot more of Superman trying to find himself. He originally, when he came back to life, he was very confused and didn't know what was going on, and was having a freak out, and basically the same as what we saw, but a little more detailed. Now, with that being said, Superman on screen in general, I loved. I thought that he was awesome in everything that he did in the film, but with that being said, like I didn't like there was no depth to it. It was like the other characters in the movie. They were like, okay, he's back. Batman brings out Lois as the big guns, calms him down. They take off. Oh, I'm going to be Superman again. And then he comes at the nick of time to save the Justice League. We could maybe get into that in a bit, but what did you think overall as a character in the film? Like, Superman, the character.
I thought he was good. I mean, he's got that strong presence of the actor that plays him.
Yeah.
His voice and everything else. He's got that presence as Superman, and I thought he was good. Of course, when he was kind of confused and not knowing who he was and battling the Justice League, I felt like it takes Lois to really get him to calm down. But the interesting thing I found in this film was there's a sequence in Batman vs. Superman where you have the Flash warning Bruce Wayne, and that Lois is the key. So in that sequence, it kind of made me think when Batman got the big guns and had Lois on the sidelines when a contingency plan. I think that was somewhat related.
Yeah, I think that that was related. I do think some details were taken out of the film, but I do agree that I think it was related. I absolutely loved the battle scene between the Justice League and Superman. I thought it was really cool that they're taking on Superman, and the first thing that popped in my head was Superman could have been the villain in this movie, instead of Steppenwolf. And honestly, Steppenwolf, he sucked. He was bad in this movie. I thought he was menacing in a way. Just his voice, and he had so much potential. He could have been so much more. Mm-hmm. But evil Superman, and maybe they'll do that later on. But the Justice League got their asses kicked by Superman, and I mean they didn't even have a chance to beat him. I love the whole thing with the Flash and him running up to Superman while Aquaman and Wonder Woman were holding him, and Cyborg, and then Superman, his eyeballs are just turn. And the Flash is like, holy fuck, you can see me? And I love that part. I loved how they shot that whole scene. What did you think?
Yeah, I think that scene itself was kind of cool. And seeing the look that the Flash gave, wow. Why is this guy looking right at me? I'm supposed to be going so fast he can't see me.
Yeah.
And the fact that was happening, I was like, wow. And then, of course, Superman was able to quickly release Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Batman and do his thing with them, and then divert his attention onto the Flash. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like that scene was kind of cool. And how that went, again, from there, with Wonder Woman again stepping in, and then she gets drilled to the ground
Yeah.
by Superman, just like was like a headbutt or something.
Yeah, well, they headbutted each other, which the headbutt to Superman did almost nothing. Like, you think he got whiplash,
Yeah.
and Superman did the headbutt to Wonder Woman, and she went into the ground pretty much.
Yeah. So that was cool, and then of course with and then he looks over and says, "Batman, I know you." And right
Tell
away,
me, do you bleed?
do you bleed? And that was a funny scene at the end when Batman was just on the ground. Yep. Something definitely bleeding.
Yeah, I really like that. Well, I mean, Batman's cracking jokes,
Yep.
you know, in this film. Overall, I love that. I thought the scene was also cut short to me as well. I thought that the whole Lois thing, which ultimately they could have, you know, they would do in that scene, but at the same time, I don't know, it's just, to me, it just seemed rushed.
Yeah.
You know, I loved the whole thing, the fight, but I also felt like it was rushed as well.
And again, I felt like even like with Superman and Batman's character, I felt like in this film, Superman almost had this like, you know, okay, he feels really great about himself now, especially when he gets beyond that confusion and finding out who he is again, and then going back to assist the Justice League, and he's got that such confidence. He's even looking at Batman, going, "Well, you know, you like me."
Yeah.
And Batman's like, "Well, I do not."
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there was a lot more humor in this movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
There was, and so that was nice. I mean, I didn't want it to go as far as like the Thor film, where it was like constant, like, you know, wisecracks here and there. Then again, that worked for the Thor film. I didn't want to get this film, you know, going too silly. When Warner Brothers went ahead with this, and with Zack at the helm, I feel like he should have given a shot to show his story, and if there's another route they wanted to go in later on, then they could have done that in another film.
Yeah, WB definitely wanted to put more humor in the movie, make it a little more lighter tone. For me, the main issue is the editing of the movie, the cutting down, losing a lot of the depth of the movie. But I would have loved to see what Snyder did, like his original plans with Superman and the overall tone of his movie.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've been talking about constantly in this review is stuff missing and feeling like the movie was rushed. Apparently there's a scene that was cut with the introduction of Aquaman in Atlantis.
Right.
And there was a little more build-up with that. We got to see Atlantis. We got to see Aquaman, more of Aquaman's relationship with the Atlanteans, because a lot of people probably don't know that Aquaman is actually a misfit from Atlantis. So just him, like, what kind of relationship does he have? Obviously he has positive relationships from Atlantis, but it goes more into that scenario with Aquaman. And of course they rushed through that when Steppenwolf showed up. I mean, it was cool that Aquaman fought him. I love what she did with the water tornado thing and messed up Steppenwolf, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, what did you think of Aquaman being underwater, and also like the fact that when they talk to each other and they're in like an air bubble thing? Like, what did you think of that whole scene?
I thought it was kind of interesting and kind of cool, different concept, and I would like to have seen more about learning more about Aquaman and itself and seeing the city. But I'm also wondering too, is this another, like, will we see this in another film?
Well, we'll probably see more of it in the Aquaman movie.
The Aquaman movie, and with Flash, I'm not certain exactly if he is to get his film.
He's getting his own movie, which is it's called Flashpoint.
Okay.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Flashpoint, but in that storyline, there's actually the Flash can go to different dimensions.
Okay.
And there's even talk about, because Ben Affleck wants to end the role as Batman, and they're talking about bringing another Batman in. Mm-hmm. So this is actually their opportunity to have another actor come in, or mix it up a bit. They can do other things.
But Ben Affleck wants to give it up?
Yeah,
I didn't hear this.
He says he wants to leave. He wants to have a cool exit, he said, from the movie. So I think he's going to be in Flashpoint, and then he either gets killed or he gets lost somewhere and there's another Batman that shows up. So in one of the deleted scenes that I had read, at the end of Justice League, when Steppenwolf gets taken up into the vortex or portal, whatever it is.
Fear.
So there was a deleted scene and we got to see Darkseid. And not only that, but Darkseid is like, why the fuck didn't you kill the Justice League? You're dead. And he kills Steppenwolf in the scene.
Wow.
So we got robbed of that. But I thought that the build-up for Darkseid was really sloppy. We got one mention of his name with Steppenwolf, and I don't know what he was saying. Like, I don't know, it was glory to Darkseid or something like that. And that was basically it. And I thought that was they could have done so much more to set up Darkseid, since he's going to be a future villain. And not only that, but, you know, he is the Thanos of the DC universe. You know, he's their most powerful villain in the DC universe. Even Superman is hardly a match for Darkseid. So I would have loved to see more of a setup with Darkseid.
That's a good valid point. I heard his name mentioned once in the movie, probably what you had mentioned.
Yeah.
And that was about it, really. Steppenwolf got killed off fairly easily when Superman stepped in, and but it was the Justice League that really, you know, like Superman did a few blows here and there, and then Wonder Woman and Aquaman were able to get a few more shots in before he was sent back up to his portal.
Yeah.
With his little bugs that the Flash was going around killing.
I thought that Superman came back a little too early. I mean, he came back, maybe mid-film?
Yeah.
He returned. And although just having Superman on screen is awesome, but, I thought it was too soon. But then when I saw them fighting Superman, I quickly changed my mind, because now I'm like, okay, is Superman going to be a villain in this movie? Of course, that didn't last too long, but I thought it was just a little too early that he came back. And not only that, but it's so hard to have Superman in a story because he's essentially perfect. And I think that they did their best, especially in Batman v Superman.
Right.
But this is essentially a perfect character who is invincible. And, you know, how do you deal with that? And as soon as Superman came back, I'm like, okay, so that's basically the end of the movie, because unless Steppenwolf is as powerful as Superman or more powerful, we got to see that he's not. And once Superman came back, and, you know, he was confused at first, and then he's like, okay, time to be Superman again, and then he shows up, basically whips Steppenwolf's ass without any help. And the Justice League didn't even really need to be there. Superman could have just done it all. And that's the problem that I have with Superman. And if there is a problem, that's the problem I have. Is because he's too perfect, and I feel like when he's around, the Justice League is useless. And you see the Justice League who basically are getting their asses whipped by Steppenwolf. I mean, they get some good blows in here and there.
Right.
But as soon as Superman comes in, and he's punching Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf is flying everywhere, and it's like, okay, well, essentially the story's over now, because Superman is just going to whip his ass, and that's it. What I would like to know, would the Justice League have beaten Steppenwolf without Superman's help? But first, what did you think of him coming back mid-film, and how did you feel about him at the end of the movie, basically taking out Steppenwolf like it was nothing?
Yeah, I felt like him coming back midway through, I think his recovery time should have taken more time, see some more growth with him coming back, especially when he went away with Lois. And I think she even mentioned to him that I wish this would have taken longer.
Yeah.
I gotta send you away. That's part of the deal. Superman does go back to fight along alongside the Justice League, and at the end, with Steppenwolf, he single-handedly can just take him down, no problem. Add in some jokes here and there, help Cyborg separate the boxes, and everything's right in the world. But yeah, I know you mentioned earlier about Superman maybe being the villain of this movie, and maybe that's the direction they should have gone in. And,
I think so.
And saved the Steppenwolf character for another film. Maybe save him for Wonder Woman, because I felt like that sequence with the Amazons in the beginning was really something. And I felt like maybe that could have been a story there. But it is what it is. The movie's out, and I'm hoping to really see some added shots in future releases. So. Or maybe we'll have another release where we can go to like another Justice League film, the Snyder Cut.
Oh man, that would be a dream, honestly.
And then make some money off this, right? And send everybody up. I'd jump on board. I'd be like, yeah, let's punch my ticket. Let's do this.
I think for sure that I think it is possible that we'll get an Ultimate Edition, but we don't know the condition of the stuff that's been cut out of the film that Snyder did. We don't know what's been completed, what hasn't been completed, because I know that there was some stuff that hasn't been completed that were cut out. But yeah,
but that could very well be what Warner Brothers was thinking, was that, you know what, let's go this route with this 2-hour version, and then put it out there. We're probably going to have a lot of backlash from a lot of critics. And then, give it time, like have the Blu-ray releases, make some money off that. Now they have the release in the theaters now, where you can go back and revisit old films that we didn't necessarily get to see when we were kids, like with Indiana Jones and other such films such as Star Wars, the remastered editions, stuff like that. So I think quite possibly, we'll have another a release that we'll be able to see in theaters. And again, Warner Brothers they're smart. They probably thought ahead of this, and they'll just bank on more money.
Well, maybe when it comes to more money, I feel that Warner Brothers needs to get out of the way, honestly. I think that they need to allow these filmmakers to execute their vision of the film.
Right.
I think that Warner Brothers should play a role like Disney does with the Marvel films, and they'll be like, hey, I got your back, go do what you're going to do, and leave it at that. Instead, we have Warner Brothers getting involved in the film, cutting it up, where the film doesn't necessarily come out to the filmmaker's vision. And we saw that with Batman v Superman. I mean, the Ultimate Cut, to me, the scenes that they added in there just fill out the movie and make it seem like a better, more enjoyable film. Because Batman v Superman, I thought, was worse, actually, in terms of editing than it was in this movie.
Right.
I thought Batman v Superman, they were really jumping from scene to scene. But I think that Warner Brothers is just getting too involved, and they need to step back and let Snyder or let other filmmakers do their vision. Because even David Ayer, who directed and wrote Suicide Squad, said that his movie was interfered with as well. And I think we got to see that when we watched the movie.
Right.
A lot of stuff was cut out of that film. But yeah, but the movie, and this is the other thing that I know that you brought it up before, but a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, Justice League is a failure at the box office. Justice League has already made its budget currently, and is now in the terms of making a profit. And I know that also there's a budget that's put aside for marketing too.
But they also have, has it been released yet in Japan? I know in other parts of the world.
I don't know about Japan. I think Japan gets movies late.
Yeah,
I think they get them last.
I think they might still make money off that right there.
Yep.
And I also know, thinking back when Snyder directed Man of Steel, right? He was already sort of like, after that film was done, looking at moving ahead with Man of Steel 2.
Yep.
But then again, like what you're saying, with Warner Brothers stepping in, they wanted him to bring in Batman, right?
That's right.
So then that's when he had to go ahead and, okay, now instead of working on Man of Steel 2, now I got to go ahead and worry about how I'm going to bring Batman in with Superman. and then that's what we got. Batman vs Superman, and I think in his mind, or at least in the back of his head somewhere, he was still has that idea that he wants to go ahead with a Man of Steel 2.
Yeah.
Because we've had Batman vs Superman, we've had the Justice League. Will we get a Man of Steel 2? I don't know.
If WB's smart, they will. And like you're saying, Justice League came out because of the Avengers. And Marvel was already on top of the ball. I mean, it's just clear as day that Marvel had a solid plan. They threw those movies out there. Maybe a couple of them weren't that great. WB wanted to, like, they were rushing to catch up to Marvel, and they jumped right into Justice League. And I think that's why Justice League came out after Batman v Superman, is because WB's like, oh my god, we gotta get on that, instead of thinking it through and actually coming up with a solid plan where they released the solo movies. They added little bits and pieces here and there to build up these characters, to build up the storyline, the overall story arc of the films, like Marvel did, but they didn't do that. So overall, I'm going to say that even though that we got a rush story and there seems to be a lot of stuff that's been cut out of this movie, I thought it was an enjoyable film. You know, I was entertained by it. Seeing the Justice League for the first time live on the screen, I thought, I mean, that's awesome. Like, it's the first time we get to see them. So, in a way, I'm almost forgiving the fact that, you know, the movie was only 2 hours and there wasn't a lot of scenes developing the characters, just because I got to see the Justice League on screen. So, between that, I also loved the chemistry between all the characters in the movie. Just seeing in your face the on-screen appearances by Aquaman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Batman, Cyborg. They just were awesome whenever they were on screen. So I really liked that. I just, having the movie being heavily edited and being rushed and having really no depth to the movie just took me out of the movie. And just, to me, the film could have been way better if they had added those scenes in. Like, even if it was 2 hours and a half, you know. But with that all being said, you know, I love the score. I love seeing those characters on the big screen. It was an entertaining film. So I'm going to give the movie an 8 out of 10.
I concur. I give it 8. And seeing the characters on screen was something to be said, to have them on screen together. And so for that, I enjoyed the movie a second time round, seeing it, and everything that we said here. It was a fun time, and the movie's out there, and if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I'm sure we all have our own thoughts and see what you think, and enjoy.
So Graham, where can they find you if they have any questions for you or they want to talk to you about Justice League?
You can find me at Gray2424. That's my Twitter account, so feel free to contact me there.
And you can find me at the Andrew K channel on Twitter and also on Facebook. Also, I have an email account at the Andrew K channel at hotmail.com. So what did you think of the Justice League? What did you think about our opinions on the Justice League? Post in the comments below. Let us know what you thought. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you keep it locked on the Andrew K channel.
I come from a town where most of the people are so close-minded. They go into school and they work in a job, but they don't even like it. I won't be put in a box. Nobody telling me what I should rock. Nobody telling me what I should drop. Cause I do what I want and just know I don't stop.